today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street.
Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women.
Wardrobe provided by Bahari Bahamas. Visit shopbahari.com. And good morning, everyone, and welcome to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I am your host, Michelle Malcolm. It's always a pleasure to be in your company. Thank you so much for joining me. So I have been telling you guys from last week not to miss this show. And I want you to like and share this show and call everybody you know and let them know that GPS is on the air. And we are going to have a power-packed show today because the question we are asking today is, when it comes to COVID-19, what are the COVID-19 vaccine specifically? When it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine, what are your legal rights? That's what we're going to be talking about today. And I have someone who is well able to break it down for us and help us to understand what our legal rights are. And this is his first time, I think, appearing on GPS. And so I would like to welcome to the show attorney Wayne Munroe, no stranger to anyone in the Bahamas. Everybody's heard that name. And I am so grateful that he has agreed to join me here on Global Paradigm Shift today to talk about this most important topic. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michelle.
So I wasn't able to watch the entire thing, but I saw that you were a panelist on a forum that UB recently had talking about the COVID-19 vaccine. And you said something, and I thought, I have to get this man on this show because you were there to question whether or not we have a legal right to say that we do not want to take the vaccine for those of us who may have that view. And I thought what you said at that forum was pretty fascinating. And this is why I reached out to you to see if we could get you here on GPS to talk about that. And so I want to set the stage for this conversation because, you know, everybody's all excited now that the vaccine is on the ground here in the Bahamas this past weekend. We see where the Prime Minister and his wife and other health officials got their jab, and everybody was all celebratory and got their cute little button thing saying, I took the vaccine. And the Prime Minister, as well as the Minister of Health and others, had some very interesting things to say about why it was important that everyone take this vaccine. So let's go to clip number one.
What I am looking forward to is for us receiving the remainder of the vaccines so that our entire population can be rolled out as quickly as possible. I would like to see our entire populace back to normal May, June, so that we can commence whatever things we've done in the past. What is amazing, as soon as individuals had heard that I and others were being vaccinated, I was amused by the amount of phone calls that I received at home. Individuals who were calling, and everywhere I stopped. I went to the supermarket this morning shopping, and people were stopping me asking when can they get the vaccine. They want the vaccine. So I think we're turning the corner now.
It is a very favorable, positive exceptional response to Bahamians getting vaccinated. So despite all the noise in the marketplace from those who are anti-vacciners, we can see that a lot of the Bahamian people wanting to step forward, willing to step forward to be able to take the vaccine.
I am so excited because I'm looking at the whole country returning some sense of normalcy. And personally, I would like to be able to see my kids and grandkids and to travel to go and see them. I also want to have that assurance that when I travel or wherever I go, even if I get COVID, I'm not going to get sick. I'm going to need hospitalization.
All right. So, for the record, this show is not to convince you that you should not take the vaccine. I believe that that should be a personal choice. And we did hear repeatedly that this is not going to be mandatory that you take the vaccine. However, you would have heard the Prime Minister himself say in that clip that they're looking to acquire sufficient vaccinations to vaccinate the entire population of the Bahamas, which suggests to me that even though they say it's not going to be mandatory, they aren't anticipating that people will say no. And Munroe, I want to hear from you as to what are your concerns as it relates to the legality of this vaccine being something that everyone will be expected to take.
Michelle, I think we should first separate hubris from reality. So this,
Okay.
we expect to have sufficient vaccines to vaccinate the entire population, 400,000 by June.
That's what he said, yes.
Okay, well, 2,000 doses, 20,000 doses vaccinates 10,000 people because you get 2 jabs.
Well, no, they have said they're going to use all of the 20,000 for just the 1 jab. So they're looking for 20,000 people to do the 1 jab and not get the 2nd jab as is required.
No. They said they're confident that they'll have the 2nd jab when that time comes.
So all of this 20,000 will be used for the first one. And then by the time that's done, they expect the 2nd one to be there.
Yes.
Okay.
So now, whether that is wise is a different issue.
Mm-hmm.
But remember now, didn't we pay a couple $100,000s for vaccines that haven't arrived yet?
Yes.
So if you haven't gotten the ones you've paid for, I don't know where his confidence comes from that we're going to get 800,000 doses to vaccinate the entire Bahamas, and you've only managed to get 20,000 doses, less than 10%. And you got those for free. You haven't managed to get the ones that you paid for. So you have to separate with this crew, hubris from reality, you see. So the first thing is whether persons who are taking the vaccine would a more sensible policy be vaccinate 10,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
You're sure you have another 10,000 to give them their second
dose,
jab?
right?
Or are you going to try play with Bahamian people to say we weren't able to get delivery of vaccines we paid for? We had to wait for India to give us a gift, but we're confident we're going to get 800,000 vaccines before June.
Well, they say
we're in March now, by the way.
Yeah. I get it. So, but didn't they say that it's going to take that the first dose could last up to 6 months before you have to get the second jab?
The protocol, as I understand it, is the second jab is supposed to come 14 to 21 days after.
14 to 20, not 6 months.
No.
So where did I hear that 6 months from? Somebody mentioned something about 6 months.
I thought
Okay.
The only thing I heard related to 6 months was the efficacy of it.
Okay.
Lasting for 6 months.
So,
but the point is this: I don't think anyone in the Bahamas should be afraid that they're going to get 800,000 doses of vaccines before June.
I agree with you.
I think he's just talking foolishness.
Yeah.
So let's set that down.
I agree with you. But this question goes beyond June. This question goes, even if it takes a year, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever, for them to acquire these 800,000 vaccines that will be needed to vaccinate the entire population, what then? What are our legal rights then? Can we say, I do not wish to take this vaccine and not have our lives destroyed because we've made that decision?
Well, that's 2 separate questions. The first part of it is, can you refuse to take a vaccine or any medical treatment? And the answer is yes.
Okay.
You can positively say, I will not be vaccinated, even for smallpox.
Okay.
We have a vaccination act that talks about mandatory vaccination of minors. And what happens is you have to present the child for vaccination. If you don't present the child for vaccination, they can take you to court. And when you're taken to court, you can be convicted and fined $4.
All of that, huh?
Yeah. So there is no, you have to take a vaccine. The more important question is, can you suffer adverse consequences
For not taking
if
it.
you do not take a vaccine?
Right. Let's talk about that.
You can break that down into different reasons for not taking a vaccine.
Okay.
If your reason for not taking a vaccine is based on politics or faith, then the anti-discrimination article of the Constitution will prevent discrimination by the government against you, by state action, because your refusal will be based on your political belief. Your refusal will be based on your religious belief. You have some anti-vaxxers who that's their political belief.
I see. Okay.
And then you have some people, for instance, if I say the AstraZeneca virus, that vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson virus may be developed using human embryos, aborted fetuses, that's against my religious views.
Right.
You cannot be discriminated against by the state based on your religious views or your political views. So the government will not be able to discriminate against you. That will mean all public institutions can be called to account if they try to discriminate against you.
What you need to do for me is define what discrimination means, because it's one thing to say that the government won't be able to discriminate against you, but if you tell me that unless you get this vaccination, you cannot come into this public place, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, is that a form of discrimination?
Well, we don't have to guess at it, because the Constitution itself tells you, contains a definition of what amounts to discriminatory treatment.
Let's hear that.
And let's read it, because we call it reading the law. I tell my students who I tutor, you don't have to think about what the law is.
It's right there.
You simply read it. That's
Okay,
why
so
we call it reading the law.
While you look for that, I'm going to read a comment that we have here from one of our texters. It says, Michelle, isn't it mandated that all of us Bahamians take the polio vaccine, measles vaccine, etc.? So why can't it be legally mandated for Bahamians to take the COVID vaccine?
You don't have to take any of those vaccines. And you don't even have to present your children to take them. If you don't, as I said, of the vaccination access, that you run the risk of being convicted and fined $4.
Wow.
And discriminatory treatment. And it says in this article, and this is Article 26, discriminatory means affording different treatments to different persons attributed wholly or mainly to their respective descriptions by race, place of origin, political opinions, color, or creed, and creed is religion, whereby persons of one such description are subjected to disabilities or restrictions to which persons of another such description are not made subject or are afforded privileges or advantages which are not accorded to persons of another such description.
So break that down in plain English for us, please.
In plain English, that means you discriminate against me if you treat somebody better than me because of my political beliefs or my religious faith, or you subject me to disabilities based on my political beliefs or religious faith. So if you say I cannot go somewhere, I have some requirement that somebody who has different beliefs has, then that's arguably discriminatory.
And according to our Constitution, the government cannot do that.
Yeah, Public Act. So Article 26 actually says that subject to the provisions of paragraph 6, 9, and 10 of this article, no person shall be treated in a discriminatory manner by any person acting by virtue of any written law or in the performance of the functions of any public office or any public authority. So that limits the anti-discrimination protection to persons acting in a public role. Now, in the U.S., you've had cases, for instance, involving the Citadel, which is a boarding school, and the Boy Scouts of America, that says that although private people may discriminate, If a private person is discriminating, the government cannot do business with them because that will amount to supporting discriminatory behavior.
So okay, based on what you just said, a business owner can refuse me entry into their business if I don't take the vaccine, if they figure that they want to do that. But the government cannot do business with that business owner if it is found to be that they are discriminating against persons. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and remember now there was a case, and I'd have to check if it's gone to the U.S. Supreme Court yet and what the outcome was, of the cake business that refused to make a cake for same-sex marriage based on their religious belief. And that was found to be discriminatory, certainly at the appellate level. And because you get licensed by the state to do business, that's governmental action. So yes, you could say I'm a private business, I'm going to discriminate. Well, then my challenge under Article 26 is going to be to the government, you can't license somebody who does that because your licensing of that supports discrimination.
So in order for the government to decide, let's say they came to the point where they wanted to decide that unless you can prove that you've been vaccinated, you're not going to be able to participate in society in these things, in these ways. Are you saying that they will have to actually go and change the law to allow that to happen?
Well, Article 26 is the supreme law, so you can't make any law that's inconsistent with that.
So you can't come up with some amendment to jump through a hoop and say, okay, that says that, but we say this because of that.
No, you can. And insofar as it's inconsistent with Article 26, the law will be void. Now, if you purport to pass laws for public health purposes to try and get around the constitutions, they still have to be reasonably justifiable in a democratic society. With these vaccines, they're approved for emergency use only. The AstraZeneca isn't approved for emergency use in the U.S.
Now,
yet.
explain why that's important in this whole question of legality. What's the difference between emergency use and non-emergency use as it relates to a legal perspective?
Well, emergency use, if you go to the CDC website, you will see that the CDC requires persons administering vaccinations approved or any medication approved for emergency use only, to inform the person that they have a right not to take that medication and to give them all of their other options. The difference is this: you will have rigorous testing of medication. This field involves this, and what was frightening at the UB webinar is this: you had all kind of doctors who were saying they were dispelling the conspiracy theories, but all of them admit they don't have a clue what the long-term effects of these vaccines
Obviously, yes.
simply because they haven't studied them long-term and they need to find it out. So they cannot tell you positively that it will not affect, for instance, fertility. All they can tell you is they have no current evidence that it does. But the current evidence is 12 months old. And we had a drug called thalidomide that they didn't realize it caused birth defects until it started to cause them. And that was triggered after a time. So the importance of emergency use only is this: you have a drug, there's a process by which they say, because of desperate circumstances, we'll let you use this drug, we'll approve this drug for use earlier than we otherwise would have. So otherwise, you might have taken 3, 5, 10 years for approval, but because this is a serious circumstance, we're going to let you start to use it. Now, the problem with medications is this: if a medication messes you up long-term, like thalidomide did with a lot of birth defects, you can't really sue anybody if they're able to say, I didn't know that it would cause this, right? Because they only have to tell you there's adverse consequences that they are aware of. And so the importance of emergency use is that's an express provision to say, you can use this medication. So far, we haven't discovered that it will kill you or make you seriously ill or have adverse consequences, but we don't know whether that is true long term. So we're telling you to this point, we haven't seen any. You're free to go ahead and take it, but know that we don't know what the long-term implications of this medication are.
I think it's just amazing that, and this goes along with what you're saying, that neither any government or any agency or any pharmaceutical company is going to be held liable. There is no liability.
You can't hold a pharmaceutical company liable. What they will say is, we've developed this vaccine for you. We told you we've only looked at it for a year. We told you what we've seen in the year. We've told you we don't know, for instance, if this is going to kill you in 2 years' time, 3 years' time. So if it does that in 2 years, 3 years' time,
Dog eat your lunch.
how can you sue me? Because I've told you I don't know. Now, you have decided that you were so afraid of the condition that this guards
That you're willing to take that chance.
that you were willing to take that risk.
So that's on you.
Yes.
Wow.
So that is why it is, I can't conceive it as being justifiable in a democratic society for somebody to be forced to an unknown risk.
But yet the Prime Minister says that they're looking to get vaccines for the entire population, everybody. But it ain't mandatory. But we getting one for you too.
Well, they could have mine. I don't take the ordinary flu vaccine.
Neither do I. And I don't get the flu because I have an immune system that works very well. And again, I'm not saying that because this is my position, it should be yours. I think it should be an individual decision. But if you listen carefully, and we're going to play some clips in this show, and you heard Del Regis say that even if I get COVID after receiving this vaccine, I won't get so sick that I have to be hospitalized, because that is what they're saying the vaccine will do. The vaccine will stop you from getting so sick if you get COVID-19. And that's important because there's a lot of people walking around out here thinking that once I get this vaccine, I'm completely immune to COVID-19. And that is not the case. What they are saying that this does is it will cause you not to become so sick if you get it that you won't have to be hospitalized. Well, that's wonderful. But I have something already that does that. It's a very healthy immune system. That's what our immune systems were created to do. And so my thing is, why are we not putting equally as much effort and emphasis on getting our people healthier so that we don't have to rely on a vaccine to do what our bodies are supposed to be able to do on their own? Again, I'm not saying that anybody shouldn't take it. That's on you. That's a personal decision. All I'm saying is you shouldn't try to force me to take it because of your position. And to sell the narrative that you're being selfish if you decide not to take it, because by taking it, you are protecting other people, I think is a false narrative. Because again, if you have a functioning immune system, that's what the immune system does. Now, everybody doesn't have one. And so some people may need to do the vaccine. I'm not knocking anybody who decides to do it. All I am saying here today is don't try to force me to do it. That's what I have a problem with. We're talking to Wayne Munroe today. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to look at what does it look like in a society where they have decided that you pretty much got to take this thing, or you're going to be pushed to the side. We're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
Ocean blue is the best in seafood, hey, hey. Fresh out the water and affordable too, yeah. We got fish, conch, lobster, shrimp, everything you want, Ocean Blue got it. Ocean Blue, friendly and clean, best service you ever seen. Ocean Blue is the best in seafood, yeah. Fresh out the water and affordable too, yeah. Ocean Blue seafood, we are here for you. Ocean Blue seafood, no one else will do. Ocean Blue Seafood, located on Burnett Road. Contact us at 393-2160.
At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267, 702-7127, or 322-1317 for reservations.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. VTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
And we are back. Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and I'm talking to Wayne Munroe today about your legal rights as it relates to the COVID-19 vaccine. I want to play a clip. This is our Prime Minister, competent authority, recently in the House of Assembly, talking about how wonderful it would be once everybody is vaccinated. And he used the persons there within the House of Assembly as an example of how this would work once everybody is vaccinated. Let's go to that clip, please. Clip number 2.
Is that once all individuals are vaccinated, for example, if all of us here in the Parliament have been vaccinated, then we can behave normally. No mask, no social gathering, nothing. We're normal, provided all of us are. And that's the recommendation. So in terms of restaurants, once there's evidence that all have been vaccinated, then they need no mask, they can socialize, no social distancing, they can laugh, they can dance, they can do whatever.
Doesn't it sound wonderful? It really, really does. It sounds like, oh man, let's just go run out, because quite frankly, we're tired. We're tired of all of the restrictions. We're tired of the lockdowns. We're tired of everything that's been going on since last year. Yesterday made a year since the very first case of COVID-19 was discovered in the Bahamas. So we've been at this now for a whole year, and we're tired. And so everybody's like, okay, this sounds really, really good. The Prime Minister, the competent authority, and all of the health officials are really saying that this is something that you really need to go out and do, and don't be afraid, and there's no reason to fear, and all this kind of stuff. And they're painting this wonderful picture of what it would be like once we, vaccinate the entire population and get all this herd immunity, etc. What about the people who have some hesitation, though, who don't want to do this for whatever reason, whether it be for, as Attorney Munroe pointed out, for political reasons or religious reasons, in my case, health reasons? I just don't think it's necessary. If you're very healthy and you have a good, strong immune system, what happens to those persons? Well, I want to go ahead and play this clip because that question is already being answered in Israel, where they have rolled out what is being called a vaccine passport. And this first clip that I'm going to play is from CBS this morning that ran a piece on what is happening in Israel now as it relates to ensuring that everyone in that society takes the vaccine. Let's go to that clip.
This morning, governments and businesses are considering a way for people to prove they've been vaccinated against COVID-19. They're called vaccine passports, and it could determine who can travel, stay at a hotel, or even visit a bar. Now, Israel's already using them, and the European Union just proposed them. The U.S., we're still thinking about it. Roxana Sabiri is in London with more on the story. Good morning to you, Roxana. Here's a question. What are the pros and the cons of this idea?
Good morning, Gail. Well, supporters say it could help lift lockdowns in cities like London. You get a shot, you get a digital pass on your phone, and then you can enter restaurants and pubs. But critics warn of the potential pitfalls over privacy and more. Israelis must now scan in to get in to gyms, hotels, even concerts like this.
It is all set in the telephone. It's very convenient.
For more than 3 million Israelis and counting, this is the ticket back to some kind of normalcy.
Finally, all the way in the car, I sang back to life, back to reality.
The government-issued Green Pass shows personal details and proves they've had 2 doses of a COVID-19 vaccine. Now countries across Europe and beyond are considering similar so-called vaccine passports or immunity certificates to inject life back into a flagging tourism industry and revive businesses and hospitality, like pubs. The UK is studying whether to introduce vaccine certificates, raising the possibility that Brits could soon need a passport for a pint.
Yep, all good.
We haven't had stuff like this before. We've never thought in terms of having something that you have to show to go to a pub or a theatre. And so there are deep and complex issues that we need to explore.
Issues like potential discrimination against people who don't want a shot, along with those who can't get one for medical reasons or because there's not enough supply.
So these people won't be able to participate in life, in public life, in social life, in economic life in the same way as their counterparts who have been vaccinated.
Claire Wenham from the London School of Economics says data privacy is another concern.
Is it going to be something that's digital and tracks you? And that obviously opens a whole different range of conversations about, security of your data, for example.
So government shouldn't rush it.
Government shouldn't rush it. I think it's a Pandora's box, and I think it's a slippery slope into, having life being governed by your health status.
But as governments debate immunity certificates, businesses are pushing ahead. Some cruises and airlines, for instance, say they'll require proof of inoculation to board. So while these passes are raising tricky ethical questions, you may need one to travel as early as this year. The WHO tells CBS News it opposes requiring vaccines for travel as long as the global supply is limited and their ability to stop the spread of the virus is not yet clear. Tony?
All right, Roxana Saberi in London for us. Roxana, thank you very much.
I love this idea.
I love it too.
I love
Not everything is a slippery slope. Sometimes you're taking one step forward and that's all.
We get tracked digitally all the time now for all sorts of things. I have no problem.
Yeah, I also find, guys, the honor system doesn't work here. It doesn't. No. And normally if you don't get a vaccine, it doesn't affect me or you. Yeah. It normally just affects you alone. But now, whether you get this vaccine could affect a lot of people.
Everybody in the room.
And if you have a medical condition that prevents you from getting vaccinated, if you have an allergy, I'm sure that can be worked out and it can be marked on your passport.
Yep.
All right.
Well, no one's asked us, but we approve.
But we're
interesting narrative there. So, Mr. Munroe, you heard that report. This is what is happening in Israel right now as we speak. It's not science fiction. It's not some conspiracy. It's actually happening in Israel, where you have to show this vaccine passport to prove that you have been vaccinated in order to have access to many things. And it is expected that that is going to continue to expand. Now, we have heard our own prime minister and the minister of tourism saying that the Bahamas is considering joining other nations that are going to require that you have to show proof that you've been vaccinated in order to travel to and from and within the Bahamas. So I wouldn't put it past this crew to say, well, the rest of the world is going in this direction and we don't have a choice but to do what the rest of the world is doing. So we are going to require that you have this passport to show that you've been vaccinated. It's not mandatory, mind you. It's not mandatory. But if you don't take it, your life can be a little difficult. What are your thoughts on that, Attorney Munroe?
Well, I would be interested in knowing what sort of legal challenges there are in Israel over this vaccine passport. The English contribution is when you talk about there are a lot of things we have to look at. It's to get it right and to make sure it doesn't offend. Everything has to be, as I say, reasonably justifiable in a democratic society. And we are not made to take unwarranted risk in a democratic society. So I couldn't see that surviving challenge in any system based on one of the Westminster constitutions. I couldn't see it surviving challenge in the U.S., not with this vaccine. But the interesting part about it, the news presenter says that not getting vaccinated can affect other people. I cannot see how the science tells you that. Because if you don't want to get sick, if you don't want me to infect you, you take the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm not vaccinated and you are, I pose absolutely no threat to you whatsoever,
Mm-hmm.
according to what they're selling the vaccine to be able to do.
Exactly.
And so it is straight up, as all medicine is, a choice. And the question is, the most troubling part of it is the choice is supposed to come with informed consent.
Exactly.
That's the concept in medical negligence for defective medications. So all medications do something to you. We've all seen the advertisements where after they tell you what it covers,
Side effects include.
Yeah.
And the side effects longer than what you actually trying to get healed from.
But at least you know what you are risking.
Mm-hmm.
So we see this. I have no doubt that if it comes to any, I have no doubt it's being challenged in Israel. I have no doubt it'll be challenged elsewhere. I wouldn't give it much chance of surviving constitutional challenge here.
Well, speaking of challenge, I also came across another clip of someone supposedly in Israel who would be a member of Rabbi Amnon Yitzhak's anti-vaccination grouping. Now, this group they're claiming that they are being discriminated against. They're claiming that they're being censored. And I found an article on the Times of Israel saying that Facebook has removed the popular rabbi's anti-vaxxer group that peddled what he called fake news. After ramping up efforts to curb COVID-19 misinformation, social media bans 12,000-member group associated with Amnon Yitzhak. And so it's been banned from Facebook. Now, he does have other presences, he has other platforms on, other pages on Facebook that have not been as yet banned, but that one in particular was banned. But here is an audio clip from a purported member of that group who is describing from her perspective what is actually happening in Israel right now. Let's go to the next clip.
I hope you've been well. It's been very, very, very intense over here in Israel. I don't know how much you're seeing, but it's terrible. It's a very, 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 very frightening situation. So I joined we had a human rights movement, and we made it into a political party that's running in our Knesset in less than a month. And they're censoring us and attacking us, and they won't allow any media, nothing. They took away the head of the party's his medical license, and they removed our platforms from Facebook, and now they won't let the media even write about us. So we want to ask all the international, anywhere we can get to publicize what we are saying. It's a very bad situation here. They're not letting children as young as 16 to take their matriculation exams without taking this injection. They are, of course, insisting people for work. They're making this green passport where half the population cannot get into theaters or malls or all sorts of things unless they've taken the vaccination. They're creating a medical apartheid. They have now issued, just this morning, they made it that they're allowed to send each person's private medical records to the local municipality so that they'll know who's taken the injection or not. They're making people wear a ankle bracelet, security bracelet, when they come back from traveling. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. If I stop to if I stop to think about it, I will cry, you know? But meantime, we just keep fighting, you know? Fighting as much as we can. So we need everybody's help because whatever happens here will happen everywhere. Will happen everywhere. So we're fighting for ourselves and we're fighting for the whole world. But we need help. We need everything. Every hand on deck.
Okay, so I don't know the name of that person. I have no way of verifying exactly, you know, it was just sent to me and I thought it was very interesting, particularly at the same time. And I saw the video from CBS this morning talking about how things are so wonderful in Israel with this vaccine passport. But what it does bring to mind, Attorney Munroe, is, you know, when you give the authorities in your country, one of my concerns is this: we are so blinded by politics in the Bahamas that we will give our leaders just carte blanche to do whatever they want to do and justify it, and then try to argue that what they are doing is right because that is our particular party. Or do you understand what I'm saying? We tend to we tend to try to justify whether it is right or wrong. And I'm not saying that the vaccine is right or wrong. I'm just speaking hypothetically here, because that is my particular party, and no matter what happens. And so by doing this, what we end up doing is we end up giving our leaders this incredible power to make decisions that affect all of us, that at the end of the day, it lessens your ability to stand up and say, hold on, wait a minute. No, this is not what I want. Do you have any concerns from a legal perspective, Attorney Munroe, that we could get to the place where we see what she just described and that she is alleging that is taking place in Israel right now? Could we ever get to that place in the Bahamas?
I wouldn't think so. Not only as a matter of law, but as a matter of reality.
Okay.
They have more of a police state in Israel where they conscript people into their military.
Okay.
And so because they are a highly militarized country, because of the risk around them, there is more control. I don't say this to be controversial, but classically you have less than 5,000 policemen, less than 5,000 soldiers in this country. That's less than 10,000 people to control 400,000 people. So if a large enough section of your country decide they're not going to do something, if they determine that it's important enough to their lives, you would literally have to use coercive force to get them to do it. And we just do not have the military.
Sufficient police force.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the reality of it, and why I would doubt somewhat the veracity of all that's in that recording, we have to not get afraid of death. With COVID, this COVID paranoia works like this. We're trying to save your life. So you have to be very afraid of death to accept any old foolishness.
Right.
Because they tell you 80% of people won't have any symptoms. So for a large majority of the people infected, they run no serious risk of anything. And then the death rate is terribly low.
2.2%,
right?
last time I checked.
Less than that when they say that's of people tested. So when they extrapolate the persons who aren't tested, it's even lower.
Okay.
But they talk about everyone has to be vaccinated, but there's no vaccines yet approved for children. And children make up a large percentage of our population. And remember now, when the Prime Minister first came to us, they said, oh, the problem is these children will come and infect their
grandparents.
Exactly. So you're not vaccinating children. They're still going to get sick. Surely a proper position would be just as happens now for the seasonal flu virus, which kills people, eh? We have vaccination for that. The persons who feel that they may be at risk of serious harm or death from the flu virus,
they have a choice to take it.
And they often take it.
Yeah.
But this concept about everyone being vaccinated is nonsense because as far as I know, there's no vaccine approved for administration to anyone under 16. So what percentage of our population is under 16?
We have a caller on the line, but just know, people, that this is not a one and done. You're going to have to continue to take this vaccine, I would say, every year. But anyway, let's go to the phone lines. Caller, welcome to the Paradigm Shift. I'm sorry, welcome to Global Paradigm Shift. Caller, are you still there? I can't hear the caller. What's happening? Just a second, caller. Let's figure out the technical reason why I can't hear you quite well. Give us a second. Let's work this out. Okay, go ahead and speak now. Okay, somebody's coming into the studio now to figure out why we can't hear you, caller. I hope I didn't unplug something I wasn't supposed to unplug. Did I unplug something I wasn't supposed to unplug? Yeah. This is Marisha coming in now to fix the problem. Okay, yeah, it's me. I unplugged something I wasn't supposed to unplug. Okay, caller, we should be able to hear you now.
Yes. Good morning, Lady Malcolm. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
That's good. That's good. The Honorable Mr. Munroe, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
That's good. Lady Malcolm, I absolutely love the topic. You know, I tune into your show almost every day.
Thank you.
And I absolutely love this topic. It's an ongoing topic that we've been talking about from the inception. A lot of things is going on here, okay? It's quite evident that even though they're saying that the vaccine is not mandatory, sooner or later it's going to be mandatory. It's going to be systematically implemented, just like the mask, okay? You're not going to be able to travel without it. You're not going to be able to go into food stores. You're going to be ostracized from society. So they need to stop painting that false narrative by telling us that it's not mandatory. If I can't go to the food store, if I can't travel, you're making it systematically mandatory. So they need to kill that narrative.
Well, you know,
okay?
Just take a pen in your thoughts 1 second. I was having this argument in a chat group I'm a part of, and when I brought up that point, someone said, well, it's not mandatory that you travel, so you just have to suffer the consequences if you don't take it. And I was like,
you're taking no. You're taking away my freedom. I should have a freedom of movement. Why is the government, and I'm not just speaking, see, this is not an FNM, PLP, DNA. This is not a political stance. This is something that is being enforced on a global level,
yes,
okay?
Yes.
Whoever, whether we vote out, chances is not going to be in, the PLP will come in and they will have to go with the manuscript. This is bigger than the Bahamas, okay? We just listened to a clip from someone from Israel. The lady said that it's there and it's coming. Is going to be implemented everywhere. You already see major media, they are already promoting it.
Yes, they are.
Okay, they are already promoting it.
Mm-hmm.
So once you turn on CNN, they're saying this, oh, we're talking about the vaccination card, passport, and they put it on CNN, then they put it on Fox News, then it's going to trickle down here in the Bahamas, and it's going to be the same. It's not a different script, you know. The mask was a dry run. It's the same script. Who didn't wear the mask? Oh, you looked at us irresponsible. You looked at us this, you looked at us that. It's going to be the same thing with the vaccination. They're going to have prominent pastors coming on speaking about it.
Already have here in the Bahamas,
influential persons in society. Come on, man. Mm-hmm. Come on. We got to wake up. Stop sleeping. Stop sleepwalking. I explained this to my 10-year-old niece and she understood what's going on. So how is it that us as Bahamians, grown adults, we are still sleepwalking? Okay? I'm going to leave on this note because I don't want to take up too much of your time. We have to realize out of chaos comes new order. You create the chaos and then you implement new strategies, new things to quote unquote deal with the chaos.
Miss, you woke.
It's a new world order, baby. It's a new world order.
You are woke.
You got to wake up.
Yeah.
All right, Lady Malcolm.
Thank you so much for calling. Yeah, you sound like you're wide awake. You ain't sleeping. What do you think of what you had to say, Mr. Munroe?
The selling of a proposition, I have no problems with that.
Mm-hmm.
So you will use your best marketing to get people to your point of view.
Mm-hmm.
No problems whatsoever. That's what's going on now.
Right.
We have a full court press that everyone in the Bahamas must take this when, if we're realistic, we're not going to get anywhere near the supply for that even to be possible.
Right.
As I started by saying, that's just hubris on the part of these people.
Right.
So I don't see any of this surviving challenge. You could try to push it from a perspective to get as many people to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? If they're persuaded, Prime Minister Minnis and Renwood Wells take a vaccine. Don't persuade me one way or the other whether I take it. Because when I was raised, we were taught if everyone else jump off the cliff,
you're going behind them too?
So the concept of this being pressed in the media, yes.
Yes.
The concept of them suppressing views that they don't want, yes, that unfortunately is happening. I suspect it's going to be addressed in the U.S. through antitrust legislation with regard to the big tech companies.
Right.
But you will not have, in my judgment, something that millions of young men died for in wars, freedoms, being eroded just by PR.
Well,
You will have a lot of people being persuaded to perhaps make choices, but then freedom involves making choices.
I hope you're right, but I'm not very confident. I'm not as confident as you are. But anyway, we have a caller on the line. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
Excellent show.
Thank you.
But I just want to remind you all that as it is stated in the book of Revelation, we are in the last days. And to me, as I look at this whole situation, it reminds me of the mark of the beast, the 666 number. So we need to pray and stand our grounds and be firm. If we don't want to take it, don't let nobody force us to take it. Because I am one of those who do not intend to take it. God bless you all.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it. Our phone line, by the way, 828-3543. 828-3543 is the number to call. Or if you want to send us a text, the number is 828-2543. 828-2543. And speaking of text, this one says, Michelle, okay, I understand the conviction of $4 for not taking those vaccines, but isn't that still a conviction on your criminal record and police record? That is not good. Okay, let's read one or two of your comments, and then we're going to take a break. My guest today, as you are aware, in case you're coming in late, my guest today is Attorney Wayne Munroe, and we are talking about the legality of the COVID-19 vaccine, whether or not you decided to sit out from taking it. Okay, Stacy says, they will make the vaccine systematically mandatory. We aren't going to be able to travel without it, buy grocery, etc. The mask was a dry run to implement that vaccine. Well, the cruise lines are already saying you won't be able to come on their ship without showing proof of a vaccination. And speaking of which, Mr. Munroe, the airlines are doing this, so
Not all.
not all, but some of them have already started.
What you will find is this. Market forces will drive the issues.
Mhm.
So if you're a cruise line and you find that you put your product out of the reach of, say, 40% of the public, you're going to have to decide whether that's a sustainable business proposition. And if you do put your product out of the reach of 40% of the people, then somebody will move in the market to cater to those 40% of the people. I would be very surprised, one, for all airlines on this, and two, for you not to have somebody catering to people who are not catered to by airlines. What would have to happen for this to happen is people would have to unanimously surrender their freedom of choice. I don't personally see that happening.
I certainly hope you are right.
Not me personally, because I know I won't surrender my freedom of choice.
Yeah.
And I don't consider myself a rabid revolutionary.
No.
But I suspect a lot of Grammys not going to do it. A lot of mothers not going to do it.
Mhm.
And the question will be for a business person, will you put your business out of the reach of, let's say 30% of the people, 40% of the people don't get vaccinated. Are you going to put your business out of the reach of those people? And if you are, I can almost guarantee that the market will bring somebody to cater to that demand.
Right. Somebody was trying to call just now, but you're calling the text line. The phone number to call, if you want to call, is 828-3543. 828-3543 is the number to call. So whoever you were, you were trying to call us on the text line, we're unable to get you on the air from the text line. So please give us a call if you want to hear, if you want to, have your say. 828-3543 is the number to call. And the text line is 828-2543. I know it's very similar. 828-2543 is the text number. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation about what are your legal rights as it relates to this COVID-19 vaccine. My guest is Attorney Wayne Munroe. I'm Michelle Malcolm. Stay with us.
Located on Carmichael Road,
Divine Designs Hair Boutique is a haven for women and men looking for professional beauty services. Our state-of-the-art and contemporary equipment creates a relaxing ambiance for you to enjoy while we cater to you. Need a hairstylist? We cater to all types and textures of hair for care and styling. We even have a barber on duty. Need a nail tech? Our technicians provide a range of services, including the latest trends. Unwind in one of our massage chairs while you get your pedicure. With our reasonable rates, friendly staff with 20 years of experience, you will be in great hands. Call us at 823-1669 or 698-1025. Schedule your appointment. Wanna be pampered? Wanna be slayed? Let Divine Designs make your day.
Looking for an extraordinary junior high school with caring, qualified staff and affordable tuition? Then come visit us at Elite School of Excellence, an affiliate of First Step Academy. ABECA-focused and Ministry of Education approved, we foster discipline, integrity, and wisdom while molding our students for success. Call us at 341-8846 or stop by First Step Academy Schools on Fire Trail and Soldy Roads for more information. Escape from the city life to Bacon Air Beach Resort in Pirateswell, Mayaguana. Relax in one of 16 air-conditioned rooms just steps away from the ocean. Enjoy scrumptious dishes in our waterfront dining room. Sip on a tropical cocktail, or if you must, stay connected with wireless internet. Nestled on one of the most beautiful beaches in the Bahamas, Bacon Air Beach Resort offers a unique vacation experience. For reservations, call 339-3726 or 463-0182.
Boy, 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 here calamity. Boy, 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 don't want that. Let me get this coverage, do it once and for all. Insurance management is who I gonna call.
When calamity strikes, we're here to keep you safe and secure. With offices in Nassau, Freeport, Abacoy, Lutheran, and Exuma. Insurance management, we cover the Bahamas.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
And we are back. Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and my guest today is attorney Wayne Munroe, and we are talking about what are your legal rights when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. I spoke last week on the same topic. Notice I didn't forget about today, so here I am.
Okay.
Mr. Munroe, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good, sir.
Excellent. Always thought you were pretty much a voice of reason. And I wouldn't say politically, but all in all, I have to respect your stand on a number of topics. This particular topic it's a big deal. And so we have to expound on this, especially. Now, I'm hoping that a few friends of mine that actually do more research than I do, that they will call in. I know I WhatsApp them the number to reach out to the show, but hopefully they'll call in time. However, in my bit of research I've been doing, there's a number of notarized biologists and biologists that have been speaking out, but they've been silenced. One of them is a German biologist. His name is Greg van den Bosch. Now, I can text you the correct spelling of that name, but he has over 40 years of experience. He's worked for some huge corporations. GlaxoSmithKline is one of them. He has a very extensive resume. So he's one of the professionals in this field. And he's speaking out on the protein-based vaccines and these new RNA vaccines. They're talking about the tamper with your DNA. This is a big deal.
It's not the DNA that it tampers with, but go ahead. But go ahead.
Well, yeah.
It does make,
Well,
yeah.
Bill Gates explains it in great detail, actually, and that's pretty much what it does. He says it himself. I wouldn't even begin to disagree with him in that regard because although he has no medical background, and him being a college dropper, he has people that advise him and bring him up to speed. He knows what he's doing. Now, that being put aside, the fact of the matter is that they're going to try to make it as uncomfortable as possible for us if we decide not to take this vaccine.
Right.
What are we going to do? This is the situation we presented ourselves with, because you're not going to be able to travel unless you have this passport, this special passport, this stamp on your passport, or an app that you have to download that certifies you that you can walk through the airport with no delay. These are the things we have to worry about. Going in a hotel, visiting restaurants, okay, and even going into the food stores that the caller mentioned before. This is the new normal of it, as they're calling it. Let's go a step further. Let's go a little further than this, because this is a problem. Okay? Now, besides that, the situation we present ourselves with, and like Mr. Munroe mentioned earlier about the kids, we don't know how this tamper with our sexual reproductive organs. We don't know what's going to happen if you try to have children. We have no idea what's going on. I was reading something this yesterday, and it was a list of countries, the countries of the European Union, and under that, Thailand also joined the countries that put a suspend on this vaccination. And it's not just the blood clots you have to worry about. It's a number of other symptoms that they decided not to feature there on mainstream media. Blindness is one of them. And a long list of other symptoms that are just as bad or worse than blood clots. Okay? You can do the research yourself. It's all there, because Thailand, Netherlands, they have on their government website the list of side effects, the people of their country that were vaccinated. One thing we don't want to do as Bahamians, we don't read enough. And the information's out there. Okay?
All right. Yeah. Thank you, caller. Thanks so much for calling. Now, speaking of what he's saying, we've all heard the reports of a couple of several European countries that are putting a hold on the vaccination, the AstraZeneca vaccination, because of some reports of blood clotting in a small number of persons who were vaccinated. And I know the narrative has been, put out there. Well, there's no evidence to show that those persons who either succumbed to or had issues facing blood clots that condition actually came from the vaccine. So how?
No, that's correct. There's no evidence to show that it is linked to it, and
Right.
there's no evidence to show that it isn't. And that is why I have no doubt that's put it on pause because it is true. It's like in law, there's something called standard of proof, and who has the burden of proof? Because if you had to prove to me that God exists, you couldn't do it, but you likewise couldn't prove that he didn't exist. So to say that there's no proof linking it isn't saying that it's not
It's a
linked
moot
to
point.
it. It's simply saying we have no proof linking it. We have no proof that it didn't cause it. But the important thing is that people take risk every day, right? You can take a risk with regard being infected with anything. You could take a risk of taking a medication that has side effects. Some medication have fatal side effects,
Right.
but people still decide to take it. We give the example of the seasonal flu vaccine. The seasonal flu kills a good number of people every year. The people who are at risk of dying, no doubt, are the ones who opt to take the vaccine. So the issue fundamentally is this: it's a personal decision. The fear that it will cease to be a personal decision and become coercive, as I say, will only happen if people permit it to be. The first level of scrutiny and resistance is you vote out any government who seeks to do so. I have no doubt that the repressive, restricted, state level legislatures in the US are likely to be voted out in the next round of elections because people will judge who they want to be making rules for them. So that's the first level of scrutiny. You get to change leaders who are telling you to do things against your will and seeking to impose it on you. Second level of scrutiny is actual civil disobedience. That's a legitimate form of political dissent, political action. And then, of course, there is a more extreme form of resistance beyond civil disobedience. You first level of you choose people who you think are acting responsibly.
Right.
So my great issue is you're telling me this thing is safe. You're not assuming liability. I've seen some purported health services rules being circulated where they claim where I've never seen a document. It purports to be health services rules made under the Health Services Act in the Bahamas to deal with potential liability for these COVID-19 vaccines. The difficulty is the Health Services Act doesn't deal with that. And I've never seen the full document. And if our government is deciding to do something, it should be after consultation, which hasn't happened. I've not seen these rules either at Bar Council level or any other. So the first level of, if you want to call it resistance, is to determine if somebody is seeking to ram something down your throat and you don't like it, and they are in a leadership position, you remove them from that position. That is the first calmest recognized form of resistance so that you don't have to get to the point of revolution.
Are you satisfied that our government agencies are providing adequate information as well? I guess we're just starting with the vaccine rollout, so it's kind of hard for them to do this at this point. But if we look at what is happening in the UK, for instance, if you go to www.gov.uk, every week they put out a very detailed report about what are the adverse reactions to the vaccine rollout. So, for example, there's a report that I came across today. Someone put it in one of the chats that I'm in. And this is a report on because in the UK, they're rolling out both Seneca and the Pfizer vaccine. So in this particular thing that I saw today, and I did check out the website, and I was able to find other reports as well, but this is the one that's at hand right now. This was a report for the execution date ending March 4, 2021. And this was to describe the adverse reactions to the Pfizer vaccine, which is not the one that we have here in the Bahamas at this point, where we have the AstraZeneca vaccine. But on this report, of the vaccinations that had been given out. This is just for 1 week. 2,033 blood disorders, 1,032 cardiac disorders, 3 congenital disorders, 713 hearing disorders, 10 endocrine disorders, 1,042 eye disorders, 12 people going blind, gastrointestinal disorders, 9,360, general disorders, 26,391, liver disorders, 17, immune system disorders, 466, infections, 1,863, injuries, 33. And listen, I could go on and on and on. It's a lot. It's a long list of all of the adverse reactions within that week. And then it has dead 212. Now, in all fairness, millions of people have been vaccinated. But at least they are reporting what those negative side effects are. So again, it goes back to you making an informed decision. Are you, Attorney Munroe, satisfied that we will have a vigorous level of reporting here in this country so that we can make educated decision as to whether or not this is something we want to do?
Have we found out what happened to vaccines we paid for yet?
But then you put it like that.
If this crew isn't going to tell us what happened to the vaccines we paid
They coming, Mr. Munroe. You can't hear. They coming. They on the way. They coming.
Put it this way. I tell people all the time, if you see somebody behaving in a particular way generally, do not behave that they believe they'll behave in any other way selectively.
When you show me who you are, I should believe you the first time.
I do not see this crew as being very transparent. I do not see this crew as condescending to think that they have to explain things to anybody.
Yeah.
This crew's position is one based in arrogance. And so I don't see it changing for this exercise at all. So the simple answer is no, I do not expect to see that. Remember in the beginning of the COVID situations when the numbers didn't even add up and we got no sensible decisions about how the numbers didn't add up. So I don't expect to see that, although with medications approved for emergency use only, they have to keep reporting things like that because that's part of the emergency approval. To report on a consistent basis any adverse outcomes that are present in persons who take the vaccines and continued adverse reactions in the test groups. So they have to do that. Will our guys do that? I have no great confidence that it will happen based on their past performance.
I want to read a text, and I want you to respond to this. Not a text, sorry, one of our Facebook comments. This is a comment coming in from Trevor Morley. It says, Michelle, if you follow Wayne Munroe them up, he wouldn't want no one to take the vaccine. I bet you if the PLP was in power, his talks would have been different. Pure politics he playing. You ain't seen nothing yet. Let him and the PLP get in power. God help us all. How do you respond to Trevor?
Well, if Trevor wishes to take the vaccine, he is free to do so. If 99 out of 100 people wish to take the vaccine, they are free to do so. This proposition of reaching herd immunity does not require 100% compliance with vaccinations. So and I don't know if the person didn't hear us say that people voluntarily take the seasonal flu vaccine because they determine it's in their interest. The discussion now is what happens with people who decide not to take it, which they are free to do because it's not in their interest.
So this isn't a political thing for you?
No, I think it's immoral for anybody to tell me that something is safe, but then tell me that I don't intend to stand by my word to you that it's safe by assuming liability. You just have to be frank. You know, it's fine for you to tell me, look, I don't have a clue what the long-term consequences are. So as a result, I'm not going to assume liability. If you think that you really need this, go ahead and take it. But do not tell me it is safe and then say you refuse to accept liability. Dr. Dahl reads this in a news report in February. said the government hadn't determined whether to assume liability. I still haven't heard whether they have decided to assume liability, and now they are starting to vaccinate people. So it's just very simple. If you are correct and it is safe, you're not going to have to pay anyone one penny. So if you really believe it's safe, go ahead and assume
Accept liability. Yeah. Right.
That's
okay.
all.
Let me read a couple of comments from Facebook. Stacy says, this was always the plan. The plan was to vaccinate the entire world population. Dr. Menace is a small fry. He's answering to higher powers. Siobhan says, let me scroll down a bit here so I can pull up her comment. Siobhan says, Michelle and Attorney Munroe, I agree with his legal analysis and the freedom of each citizen to choose whether or not to get vaccinated. Where I am, I can get the Pfizer vaccine, but I will not at this time. I do have my personal reservations, most importantly, not knowing what I am being exposed to. Secondly, should I have long-term harm, who can I sue? By no means am I an anti-vaxxer, but for heaven's sake, people, do your own research when it comes to your health. All righty. Let's see. Let me go to one more comment. Let's see. This one is from Stacy. Stacy says, but Mr. Munroe, they said the same thing regarding the mask. They said that once you wear a mask, you're safe. Then they turn around and say the next person wear a mask and said the next person must wear a mask for you to be safe. I guess we have seen a lot of conflicting messages one way or the other. And I believe that is because this is a new experience, a new condition that they're dealing with, and they're learning as they go along. That's the bottom line. They're learning as they go along. So I don't know. I don't think it would be fair for us to expect them to get everything right from the outset. And when I say them, I'm talking about the world. I'm not just talking about what's happening here in the Bahamas, because quite frankly, they're learning as they go along. All I am saying again is that it should be a matter of choice. And to me, it's not sufficient for you to say it's not mandatory, but then you intend to make my life hell if I don't take it. That is what we're talking about today. What are your legal rights as it relates to whether or not you can decide to not do the vaccination? And according to our guest today, Attorney Wayne Munroe, you have a lot of legal ground to stand on, and he believes that there would be a hard time for the authorities to win a case as it relates now to choice about taking this vaccine. I want to read one more comment, and this one is from Stacy. Says, New World Order, they create chaos and then create new order. A child should be able to comprehend what's going on. If you still lost, you're in trouble. What is your, we have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Yes, good morning, Ms. Malcolm.
Good morning.
Yeah, and I was your guest, Mr. Raymond. It's a pleasure to hear him on the radio. We need people like Mr. Manu to keep this up. But, Ms. Malcolm, this show is really what is needed. But, the thing is, the problem right, Ms. Malcolm, speaking the truth, I remember Mr. Manu made a comment months ago. Speaking the truth is a problem on the radio. And what happens is a lot of people, they would judge you and they would talk for you speaking the truth, but they would not pick up a book and go and seek the truth. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They would just judge you. Now, I saw somebody was saying, thank God for the vaccines and all of this and that. I don't know. I thank God for the fruits on the trees and health and strength, right? So I don't know what kind of biosecurity paradigm this is there about to create. The last text, it was correct. So what happens is there was a study on from John Hopkins, or I think it was Washington State University, that showed if China had acted promptly, they would have curtailed 90% of the spread, but nobody's saying that. But what they're not saying here also is that China closed down, this is on 60 Minutes, has nothing to do with me, 52. Mm-hmm. China closed down 15 proto sequences database before World Health officials arrived to do their investigation for the biological clock to trace the origins of the virus by tracking the mutations, and then they will arrive at what time it broke out. It's a biological clock, molecular clock. They hid that. Also, the three officials that they sent were actually, one was actually working for 15 years at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. That is why Trump took away the funding, and they know the conflict of interest that exists. There's a memorandum out on that now. Mm-hmm. And we know that the thing is I'm most appalled about, Mr. Munroe, is the denial of Big Pharma. They will, Mr. Malcolm, you said something that prompted me to call. The fact that they're denying the association and cause. Of course, we know the blood clots as a result of the vaccination. What else can it be?
Well, the people say there's no evidence of that, so we can't say that it,
Ms.
what else
Malcolm,
could it be?
is the world suffering from mass psychosis? I forgot to give up on that one. All right. And Brandy Vaughan, I sent you this information months ago. Brandy Vaughan, the anti-vaxxer who worked from Merck Pharmaceuticals, who started learntherisk.org, right? She worked for Merck Pharmaceuticals, and she was a part of the evidence against them in the Vioxx lawsuit. I don't know if you remember. I had sent you that. So she was online for months showing you how they was bullying her. People were breaking into her homes and intimidating her. And all of a sudden, they found it on December the 7th. That one over. All right. Now, and this is online with the Pfizer studies. What they're not telling people is this is on their website. 162 people out of the placebo group were given the placebo and 8 in the vaccination group, and then they still turn around and say 95% effective. And then as far as you're talking about the effects of the vaccinations, they always will deny these things. Even before COVID, there was linked to, I don't worry about the story with the autism and with the Down syndromes and the Bell's palsy. This is an article that appeared online that's documented. 4 people developed Bell's palsy as a result of 20,000 being vaccinated. They deny that and all, right? And so they're not talking about anti-dependent enhancement. So what happens is when people hear you speak, they will use the excuse that they don't understand you, but they would never, ever go and seek nothing what you're saying, but they will judge you. So what I'm saying is right now, we're suffering from mass psychosis, and God help us if I got to say thank God for a vaccine. Educated people are sometimes fooled, and Mr. Munroe, I want God to give you the strength to do what you have to do. Don't listen to the naysayers about the PLP and the FNM, because we know we're bigger than that. The statement that you're pushing and Ms. Malcolm is pushing is bigger than me, you, and Ms. Malcolm. The statements that I push is bigger than all of us. All right? But the truth will get us in problems. Have a good day.
All right. I could always rely on 52 to come in a mouthful. I don't know if were you able to take in all of that, Mr. Munroe, if you have anything in response.
Yeah, what I would say is this. I move from a level of, it's, as we say, it's a matter of personal choice. Mm-hmm. Personal choice must be informed. As a lawyer, I tell people whenever a lawyer speaks to you in language that you cannot understand, go find another lawyer, right? So at some point, this has to be reduced to a level that people can feel comforted. And to me, that's not accomplished by any politician taking this vaccine, any religious leader telling me to take it. That's to reduce things in simple language and put your money where your mouth is. We tell you this is safe. We will pay you or your estate if this causes you serious harm or kills you. That's what I want to hear. I'm not interested in reading or kind of scientific data and that. Mm-hmm. I have a serious distrust of people who seek to avoid liability for their actions.
As a lawyer, you would.
As a human being.
Okay, I want to read this text. Because this texter, I think, is exactly why I believe we should be very, very, very concerned. This texter says, let me pick up the call. So caller, just hold on. We're going to come to you in a second. This texter says, Michelle, I respect everyone's rights, but we have to be careful that we are not feeding into the dangerous conspiracy theory nature of our Bahamian culture. Our entire country has comorbidities. We must be careful. Well, texter, I know who you speaking for, but I ain't got no comorbidity.
I do. I have hypertension, and that doesn't.
Well, you and I need to talk after the show so I can show you how to get rid of that.
And none of that makes me afraid. Why are people so afraid to die? You're gonna die one day.
Oh boy. Anyhow, you can't say the whole country have comorbidities, Dexter, because that's my point. I don't. I'm a very healthy human being. And I don't see why. Anyway, caller, let me don't hold you up any longer. Caller, welcome to the show.
No problem. I'm calling back. I had to interject and say something, and I'm glad the person called in, text that and mentioned something. See, a lot of folks, they'll call you a conspiracy theorist because you don't think along the same lines as the herd, and objective thinkers usually don't fit in the crowd. The thing about it is you got to think about this just as logically as possible. And Mr. Munroe, you mentioned, look here, you ain't afraid to die. Look here.
I'm not.
Any parent.
Every day I wake up, I'm prepared to die.
I'm glad you are. But I can't speak with the mass majority, but for people who have dependents, they scared to die. You know, the natural human instinct is to have some kind of fear of death. No one really wants to expire. All right. Now, the thing about it is, everybody has to make their choice. My thing is, I'm not a political kind of guy, but if I see something, I gotta call it out, especially if it affects me, my fellow Bahamians. The thing about it is, it's a big question mark in the back of my head. If the PLP were to win the next election, would anything change as regards to their stand on the implementation of this same vaccine narrative that's being pushed on the whole planet? This is my thing, okay? Because a lot of points were mentioned, and our current prime minister mentioned how we must become a part of this new world order. I'm not getting no new world talks now.
He did say it. I
He
heard
did
it.
say it now.
He said it.
I heard it. I have the video in my phone. Dr. Kevin Bethel came on, he was interviewed on Clint's show, and he quoted, which I also double checked on. He quoted and said that he's getting the directives from people like the World Health Organization. These were his words. I cannot misquote the man, otherwise I might get sued. All right. Now, with those things in mind, and a caller mentioned or someone commented in the comments below and said this is bigger than all of us. This is a big deal. We're not going to get into that New World Order talks or whatever the case is. We're not going to get into that because I'm at the start of the borderline conspiracy theorists. But let's just say that there's some merit to that idea. Okay? Is another pilot, PLP, going to continue on with this same pressure to put this, it seems to be poison, in all of our bloodstreams?
I don't think you should call it poison. That's let's not call it poison. Yeah, we have to be careful. We have to be careful.
I'll retract that one then.
Yeah,
because
don't say that.
I've been getting my shots from a little boy.
Well, Carla, what I'll say is this. A lot of treatments that are put in people's bodies are poison. Chemotherapy is poison. Radiation is poison. So the fundamental point that people need to come to grips with, this involves a matter of choice. People choose every day to take medication that the scientist tells you are poison. I take medication for hypertension that I have a little sheet that tells me all of the possible things it could do to me. I choose to take them. So let us not get too caught up with the fact that this may be something that adversely affects your body, short-term or long-term. What is important is, and what people fought and died for, is your freedom to make a choice for yourself.
Right.
Mr. Munroe, can I ask you a question, please? I don't mean to be long-winded, but let me ask you this. Repeat your power of reason. This is the thing, all right? I'm glad you mentioned that, because we don't have to take Advil PM or do any chemo or do anything that we don't want to. We can just walk in the pharmacy and get what the hell you want to get. However, for a hotel worker, for example, a bus boy who ain't working over a year, one of the requirements for him is to get this AstraZeneca vaccine pumped in his arm for him to go back to work. All right? If that is one of the mandates it's going to take for him to get back on the job and try to catch up on his bills and try to get used to the lifestyle he was living before 2020, that's going to be a bit tough. See, we have a choice.
Well, but let me help you with that. No, but let me help you with that.
Go ahead.
One, in my view, to do it and then to terminate him based on doing it would be unfair dismissal. But if perchance you force him to do it as a business, and there are long-term effects that affect him, you have now put yourself in a position to be liable. And if the hotel owners want to be liable for their employees' effects, then they're free to do it. No doubt they will receive legal advice on the consequences of compelling someone to do it. And I would suspect if they asked me for legal advice, I would tell them that to do so would open yourself up to liability if these vaccines are found to have adverse long-term benefits that this person does not know of. And then they will have to take a business decision. All of these decisions are going to be driven fundamentally at the end of the day by business decisions. And the businesses are going to have the same choice to make as we have as to what steps they take.
All right, caller, I am going to have to let you go because we have to take a commercial break. All right.
Take care. Okay.
So thank you so much for calling. All right. So let's go to the break now. And when we come back, we're going to continue to talk about your legal rights as it relates to the COVID-19 vaccine. I have a texter who is sending me a message, and I want to address that because it's a common misconception as it relates to persons who are already dealing with another with a comorbidity. So we're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
Hats off, looking like I walked out of catalog. Everybody wanna know where I got it from. Catwalk, 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 boutique, where we make fashion statements. Catwalk, boutique, where we make fashion statements.
For the latest styles in women's clothing and accessories, visit Catwalk Boutique on Robinson Road East at the Helron Plaza. At Catwalk Boutique, we make fashion.
Want to look your best and feel even better? Visit J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa for the ultimate beauty, body, and anti-aging treatments, offering custom colors, haircuts, vegan anti-freeze treatments, silk blowouts, natural and acrylic nails, unisex pedicures, facials, and massages, all waxing services, and microcurrent therapies for anti-aging and body sculpting. J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madeira Street, telephone 326-7863. For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all: schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
And we are back on of today's episode of GPS Global Paradigm Shift. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm. My guest today is attorney Wayne Munroe, and we are talking your legal rights as it relates to the COVID-19 vaccination. I want to go ahead and read a couple of your comments from Facebook. This one, and Raja says, good morning, everyone. Our rights, the law in regards to vaccination is so much needed. Michelle, I would love to hear from essential workers who won't take the vaccine, left civil service, etc. Folks have some serious life issues to make. It's that minimum wage job, compromising your beliefs worth it? There's a serious thing. Hashtag police state. Let's see. Let's get one or two more in. Let's see. I'm just going down. There's so many comments, y'all. Wow. Okay, Georgina says, I live in the U.S. What are our legal rights? I've noticed that they've made all sure in our community to take the vaccination. Well, I don't know if Mr. Munroe wants to speak towards your legal rights in the United States. He's a practicing attorney here in the Bahamas.
Well, I've not seen anything
Yeah.
that indicates that they're compelled to take it. I know that they were prioritized for vaccination.
Oh.
So in terms of the persons who can get it,
Mhm.
who can go first in line, they're prioritized. But I know that in the U.S., persons who have been prioritized are choosing not to take it. And I don't know of anything that compels them to take it.
Okay. Melvern says, Michelle, the lady who called in before that last call is on point. Listen, we are in the last days of life history. This is prophecy, and God's word must be fulfilled. The vaccine will become mandatory. We are heading for the Great Reset. We will not be able to buy or sell the one world order, where we will be forced to worship on one day, and it's all over. Jesus is on the way. Let's stay ready. The handwriting is on the wall. Have a great day. Now, I want to read a text, and then I want to respond to this texter. The text says, Michelle, okay, I see your point, but when I say comorbidities, I'm talking about the huge amount of Bahamians with cancer, hypertension, diabetes, and our Bahamas being one of the most obese countries in the world. Okay. On March 3rd, Dr. Joel Wallach was a guest on this show. If you missed that show, I highly recommend that you go to the official Michelle Malcolm Facebook page and watch that show. March 3rd, Dr. Joel Wallach was the guest on that show. And he said something, he explained something that I really, really think we need to be paying closer attention. One of the things he talked about is the fact that the vaccine is really designed to, and I'm paraphrasing here, sort of prompt your body to respond if you are exposed to COVID-19 so that your body is able to fight that off. However, if your body is so compromised from a health perspective that it wouldn't be able to fight it off, the challenge is if your bone marrow is not producing sufficient white blood cells, even with the vaccine, if your body is that compromised, your body will still have a very difficult time of fighting it off. This was the point he was trying to make, because the vaccine only prompts your body to do what it was designed to do, which is fight this thing off. And so you have to understand that and again, I'm not trying to recommend anybody not to take the vaccine. That is a personal choice. But don't go into it thinking that this vaccination is going to cure you of anything. Now, if you don't believe me, because a lot of y'all think I just be talking to hear myself, I'm going to play a clip. This one is from CNN. Dr. Anthony Fauci recently appeared on Chris Cuomo's show. And here's what he had to say about the efficacy of the vaccine.
Why do I have to keep wearing the mask after I get the vaccine? I thought it was going to protect me from the vaccine. What's the answer?
Well, the answer is, unless you get the overwhelming majority of the country vaccinated and protected and get that umbrella of what we call herd immunity, there's still a lot of virus out there. So just because you're protected, so-called protected by the vaccine, you need to remember that you could be prevented from getting clinical disease and still have the virus that is in your nasopharynx because you could get infected. We're not sure at this point that the vaccine protects you against getting infected. We know for sure it's very, very good, 94, 95% in protecting you against clinically recognizable disease and almost 100% in protecting you for severe disease. But until you have virus that is so low in society, we as a nation need to continue to wear the mask, to keep the physical distance, to avoid crowds. We're not through with this just because we're starting a vaccine program. Even though you, as an individual, might have gotten vaccinated, it is not over by any means. We still have a long way to go, and we've got to get as many people as possible vaccinated of all groups.
All right. So he was talking specifically about the Pfizer vaccine. And as we know, here in the Bahamas, we are taking the AstraZeneca vaccine. But I thought that there were some things that he said that were quite interesting. And as an attorney, Mr. Munroe, you know, a lot of times people say that lawyers are very good at saying things in legal lingo that make it very difficult for the layperson to understand. I heard a lot of medical lingo in that clip just now. When basically what he was saying is this thing isn't going to stop you from contracting COVID-19. Now, you may not have any major symptoms once you get it. You won't get very ill. You won't need hospitalization, but it's not going to stop you from contracting it, and it's not going to stop you from potentially spreading it. Is that what you understood from what he said?
Yeah, that's what he said in plain terms. And what he said is that this is what they know at
this time. Right.
And remember now, what they know changes over time. So this is the same man who at one time said masks weren't necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes what that time has changed radically. So this worshiping at the altar of science that I have seen happening, that is just as speculative as worshiping at any other altar. So you just have to make rational decisions because, as he always says, this is what we know at this time.
At this time.
At one time, they knew that you didn't need to wear masks. I hear now that they know that you should wear 2 masks. At some point, they might know that you have to wear 3 masks. So you have to listen very carefully to what people say.
Mm-hmm.
And for people to tell you that it's a matter of science and medicine, so you can't understand it, if they can't explain it in language that you can understand, don't listen to them. Because if you're talking about, you'll be able to explain it to people. Doctors every day have to get informed consent from patients. And in order to do so, they have to explain to you the procedure, the risk, all of that. I heard a lot of this is what we know at this time from a man who at one point knew that you didn't need to wear masks.
Mm. And when he starts talking about clinical disease, and I'm like, what? Okay.
That means you're not going to get sick.
You're not going to get very sick, yes. You may have the thing, but just say that. Anyway. I have another text that says, so here's where we have to get to. Those who want to take the vaccine, take it, and those who don't take it. We have to stop criticizing, chastising, and bullying the people who actually want to take the vaccine. Actually, I feel it's the opposite going on. I feel that people who say they don't want to take this vaccine are being bullied, being called irresponsible, and all other because of the stance that they're taking. And I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just, too close to it. But I think it's the opposite. I think that it's the person who's taking a stand, who's saying, wait a minute, I don't want to do this. You have an entire government that is in it. Well, let me not put that out. But this person talking about bullying, who's bullying who?
Well, the reality that people are going to have to come to grips with, because they talk about vaccine, is in countries like the Bahamas, I have no doubt that it's going to be quite a long time before they get sufficient vaccine for people to have to make a decision, being forced one way or the other.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about it. The reason that we've only had 20,000 doses delivered, even though we purportedly paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for more doses than that, is the availability of it. So let's stop fooling ourselves. Let's stop playing games. I have no doubt that the 20,000 doses that are in country now, they will easily find people to take those shots. That you're not even going to have to contemplate compelling anybody to take in, because you're going to have more than enough people who want to willingly be vaccinated to take them. And more power to them. I've had relatives who have taken chemo for cancer, and I've relatives who have not.
Right.
And we don't look down on the ones who do take it, and we don't look down on the ones who don't.
It's just a matter of choice.
It is your free choice. I was told, for instance, by my GP that if I was willing to change my lifestyle in terms of the rate at which I work and all the rest of that, he would not put me on hypertensive medication. I chose not to. That was my voluntary choice because my circumstances caused me not to do that. This is all a discussion about freedom of choice, and we come back to that. Millions upon millions of young men have been to that fight and die in wars to protect our freedom of choice. Millions of them. So it shouldn't be a right that is lightly taken. The freedom of choice to take a vaccine and to not take a vaccine. What is important is the freedom that we sacrifice young men to.
I have a text. I can't find it right now, but somebody says that their son is serving in the U.S. Here it is. It says, "Good morning, Michelle. Could you ask QC Munroe if my son, who is on the U.S. Navy, could be forced to take the vaccine? He does not want to take it." Answer that?
From what I know of their constitutional order, he should not be forced to take it. The question will be, because people in disciplined forces voluntarily surrender some of their freedom. So, for instance, they don't have a freedom to associate like other people do. Whether or not a soldier can be commanded to do it is a different issue. All in all, I would think it would be difficult to demand that. But then the question would be, can they restrict your deployment? So can they say you're not going to be deployed on a seagoing vessel if you're not vaccinated?
Where can a person go if they want to get more information about what their legal rights are, whether it is related to this COVID-19 vaccine or any other initiative that they may not have an agreement with, and they're concerned that they're going to have to make a difficult choice? Where some legal information and advice?
Well, all of our laws are available free online. I think if you Google Bahamas laws online, you get it. And a little SWAT trick for finding the law quickly. There's a search function. If you want to find out about vaccines, just type in a law. If you want to find out about discrimination, you can put that in and it'll take you there as well. You be able to access just general free legal advice, but it's not so organized here as elsewhere. Most responsible lawyers will offer it if you were able to contact them, even on social media. I'm encountered all the time by people sending me questions on Facebook or through Facebook Messenger or on my WhatsApp. You ought to be able to get some sort of directions. Most lawyers will give it to you because we much prefer if you're more organized. There will always be disputes, but the disputes we hate are the ones that could have been easily avoided. So yes, it's going to be available. I anticipate that questions surrounding the ability to be compelled to take it for your job will arise.
Yes.
And the things. UB did the webinar that I appeared in. I don't know if it's available anywhere.
Someone told me it's available on the UB website.
Okay. And you may have a number of those forums where you have discussions over specific questions. And the key would be, if you want it, demand it from whatever organization you're in. And then they issue invitations to people like me. And we often take them up and then send you questions that you want so that they can be addressed.
All right. Thank you so much. And just understand, it's really important that you understand what your rights are and what the level of liability is, if any, of your employer or the ministry, the health agency. You need to understand that. It reminds me of a situation some years ago. I had an opportunity to travel to South Africa, and we went on safari. And they made it was one of those open jeeps. In other words, there's nothing protecting you from the wild animals. And they made us sign a waiver before we took off for safari to say, if you get hurt or killed while you're on this safari, you don't have any right to sue us. And if you get killed, your family ain't got no rights. Nobody, don't come to us, because you knew the risk before you decided to Jeep to go fool around with lions. So ain't no liability on our part. But the thing is, we went into that expense knowing that, understanding that if something were to have happened, there's no liability on their part. And so it's really important you understand what your rights are from a legal perspective and what the liability is from their perspective, and then make it informed. That is all we're saying on the show today. Nobody is bullying anybody. Nobody is telling you not to go get the vaccine. If you want, go get the vaccine. Child, all power to you. That's that on. Go ahead. Do you. All I'm saying is, don't try to force me to do it. Even though you say that it won't be mandatory, but yet you're talking about you getting enough for the whole population, and we see what's going on in Israel. I just don't want anybody to try to shove it down my throat, because I should have a right to say no. I choose not to take this vaccine. Attorney, just give us a wrap up in terms of your advice to persons listening to this show today, as to what their approach should be.
Generally, the advice I give persons is that life involves risk.
Say that again.
Life involves risk.
Okay.
Life will end in death. That's the reality of it.
Mm-hmm.
Along your path of life, you'll be confronted with circumstances and situations. You will weigh what you have to gain from a decision and what you risk from the decision. And you will have to make your best choice. And so, for instance, in litigation, when we advise people on settlements, we tell them, if you win, what do you get? If you lose, what do you get? Rate the percentage chances of you winning and losing, and then come up with the best of you.
Mm-hmm.
It must be a personal decision for you.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some people who will risk everything on a 1% chance of success. There are some people who won't risk one penny on something that's 99% certain. The assessment of risk, the decision to take risk, is on the individual. And my advice would be, before you do anything, assess what you see the risks to be, consider what you see the benefit of taking that risk to be, try your best to assess the potential, the possibilities, and then make for yourself the best decision.
Mm-hmm.
On this issue, as I say, my greatest concern is for anyone in any circumstance. One of the risks that you have with this vaccine is nobody is liable as a backstop. You have no backstop. You have no guarantees. They're telling you what they know at the moment. The risk that you run may be great enough that the benefit may be to you great enough for you to run the risk.
Mm-hmm.
You may be somebody who considers if you get infected, you will surely die. And if so, you may be prepared to take that risk. You may be prepared to take that risk for any reason.
Mm-hmm.
It should be freely taken by you
Mm-hmm.
in an informed position of what could happen. And that's it. Life is full of risk. You will have to decide which ones you take.
Wow. QC, Munroe, thank you so much for joining us here on GPS. I really do appreciate you taking some time from your very busy schedule. I know you got a lot going on with the political thing and the lawyer thing. And I just want to say thank you so much for agreeing to be here today. I really do appreciate it. I think a wealth of information, and I hope that that my viewers are able to glean from it and just, take it or leave it. But at least now you have needed to have. So thank you so much, Attorney Munroe, for being here today.
My pleasure.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's show. And I want to thank you all for tuning in and for making GPS a part of your morning. You know what tomorrow is? It's Wednesday, so that means we're going to have a Wellness Wednesday show tomorrow. And I always try to do my best to bring you some good information that will help you to walk in optimal health. And that's really what it's all about, folks. If you're walking in optimal health, then, you don't have to be so afraid of any illness, because your body will be able to do a good job at taking care of it on its own. That's why you have this wonderful thing created by the Almighty called an immune system. Get it healthy, y'all. I'm going to be talking about your health tomorrow, so make sure you tune in. I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thanks to all of our sponsors for making today's show possible. Have a good afternoon, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow.